tons of movies. Tanu Weds Manu. Fantastic job. We loved her in the films. And now she's here to join us and throw light on her opinion of what she thinks about this. All right. Up next, we have... Up next, we have Sridhar Rangayan. Yes, a huge round of applause for him. He's a writer, director, and activist. His films on the LGBT issues have pushed the boundaries of independent cinema. He's also the festival director of Kashish in Mumbai, and it has become an important event in Mumbai's cultural calendar. Ladies and gentlemen, Sridhar Rangayan. Well, we already have Rikhil out there, who's the director of Time Out, and we'd also like to invite on stage the actor who we've seen in the trailer out here, who plays the older brother. Well, that's Pranay Panchori. Panchori, yes, that happens. All right. I'd also like to invite on stage Miss Amisha Davra. Well, she has done her PhD in research and development, and she's a scholar and a counselor. And she's also very pretty. And last but... Whoopsie! All right. Okay. Last but certainly not the least, we have Miss Ekta Dharia. Huge round of applause for her. Well, Ekta is a clinical psychologist and a... Wow, this is a tough word, guys. You got to just give me some time, yeah? She's a psychotherapist. Wow, working with school... Gundecha Educational Academy for the last 7 years, and she also privately practices, and the name of her center is Reflection. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel for this afternoon. Okay, so let's begin this panel discussion. I'm going to throw this question open to anyone who'd like to answer this. And our first question for today is, are we as a society very intolerant towards people with different opinions and choices? Let's start with you, Swara, since you have the mic.
I think that I would sadly have to agree. I think that there is a pretty genuine problem of tolerance in our society, and it's only growing. And I think it's very strange because India is and has always been a multicultural, multilingual, multi-ethnic, multiracial, I mean, how many other multis you can think of? All that, India has always been that. That has been the birth and genesis of this civilization. Not from now, from, you know, the Indus Valley times onwards. So it's strange that as a society we are increasingly, while our phones are getting smarter and our shopping malls are getting, you know, fancier, and our roads are getting, well, not wider, but whatever. Our cars are getting more in number, but as a people, we are becoming more and more intolerant of very simply being able to live with difference in our society. It could be difference of culinary habits, as this meat ban controversy is showing us. It could be difference of thought, worldview, sexuality, I mean, anything. So I think it's a sad truth about our society.
Right. Tehseen, would you like to add to that?
Well, I agree with most of what Swara said. First of all, good afternoon, everybody, and Nikhil, congratulations. Your movie looks fantastic. Congratulations. Yeah, and I hope it does really well. And that's 10% of the that we decided. Now we have a deal. 10% of what he makes for me coming down. But anyways, I agree with. Sorry.
Do we share profits and losses?
No, only profits. Listen, I'm half in politics. I don't give nothing. But no, I agree with what Swara said. As a society, when you look back at India, it is the most diverse society in the world. I think the only other country that comes close to in being as diverse as India is the United States of America. And like the United States of America, India is mostly a country of immigrants. Now, it's a country that over centuries, with the culture that we have, has been so diverse, so tolerant, so different. Unfortunately, the same diverse culture is being misrepresented to bring about these so-called bans, to bring about hate, to bring about violence, to bring about all sorts of and violence is not just physical, even mental violence. I just read this morning on the flight, the Shiv Sena said now that rickshawalas have to speak Marathi or they won't be allowed. I mean, the fact is, you know, you're moving towards, instead of becoming a globalized country, instead of becoming a globalized city, which Mumbai is, but I'm talking on a macro level on India, you started to become more and more intolerant of other people. And I don't think India as a society, as a race, we are intolerant. I think it's the few who are intolerant, but they get space in media, and the majority of us who are tolerant do not raise our voice against it. And I don't want to, it's not about me, but you know, when this officer called Dhoble was moral policing and arresting women, the amount of calls I got from Mumbai police not to take action against him and the amount of pressure that is built up, I don't understand. And the liberal voices in Mumbai, the liberal voices in India, refuse to speak up. And therein comes the problem. The problem is not the society just becoming intolerant. It's the majority who are liberal not speaking up against what is going on, the intolerance. I think therein is the problem. And that sadly is what started happening in Germany. Nobody spoke up when they went for the socialists. Nobody spoke up when they went for the Jews. Nobody spoke up when they went for the handicapped. Nobody spoke up when they went for the gays. And ultimately, nobody was there to speak up and they came after me. Unfortunately, the majority is not speaking up. Therein is the problem.
Right. We have a bunch of people here who are very opinionated. Is there any other reason why we as the liberal majority are not speaking up against issues that most certainly need our attention?
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I'm Professor Amisha Davda, associated with Xavier's College, Mitibai and NMIMS University. And currently I'm pursuing my PhD in digital marketing, where I also look out for this kind of issues. One of the major reason I find is when you want to voice your opinion at times, you know, people are not going to support you. That is one of the reason, like, you want to just keep quiet and like you suppress your thoughts. So this can be a very critical, I mean, there can be a lot of critical factors in this case. I have a suggestion to this. There can be a portal online and where you can invite a lot of ideas through crowdsourcing techniques, and that ideas can be a win-win situation, I think, so that can really help out the society. Thank you so much.
Well, that's a great suggestion. We all mostly just talk about the problems. We have one solution here. That's great. All right.
All right. I, of course, like, I mean, obviously would be talking particularly about LGBT rights. In India, what I see is, like, I mean, I think India is so diverse, as we've been talking, that, like, we actually still live in the 16th and the 21st century at the same time, when you see the villages or the smaller cities and the metros. When we talk about tolerance in the metros, we perceive that there's a lot of tolerance, but in fact it's not. But when you go to a smaller town, you think they're intolerant, but actually there's much more tolerance. So in terms of LGBT community as such, okay, over the last, in 2009, I don't know how many of you know, Section 377 was read down. Section 377, which kind of criminalizes homosexuality. After that, from 2009 to 2013, there has been a lot of visibility of younger people coming out and being who they are and claiming for their own space in terms of, I'm an LGBT person, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm transgender, and that's really encouraging. But what was a dampener was the 2013 Supreme Court verdict, which kind of reversed everything back. And now, in fact, we see actually a lot more intolerance coming out, because what happened is, like, now you have this bunch of younger people who have come out, you know, and they've said so, that now for them to be branded as a criminal again, and their parents are now questioning, you know, parents are questioning, okay, you have come out, so what is your status now? I mean, are you a criminal? Who are you going to marry? There's absolutely no status for you anymore. So that kind of a pressure by parents, I think it's immense at this point of time. And that also is supported by a larger kind of, I would say, the governmental, the kind of decisions the government is taking across board. I don't know, just a small diversion is basically also government cut off all the funding for HIV/AIDS intervention. Now, what also, because of that, during this time, actually, we had started a lot of community-based organization. We started around 150 community-based organization during the earlier time, you know, and all these community-based organizations just survived on money to run HIV programs, and also thereby did LGBT support. Now all of them actually have the threat of being closed down. So where will the LGBT people go to find any support? So that's actually the point now in terms of the way things are moving.
Every school in Delhi, and you name it, we must have approached them. And one point which he made was very right. You would think that Delhi would be liberal about this, the main cities would be. But the support we got was from the satellite cities. And even a city like Gurgaon, which is supposed to be this corporate hub and it's supposed to have these smart thinking individuals, principals jumped out of their seat when we said we want to make a film about homosexuality which deals with sexuality in schools. I've received comments from parents saying, mere bete ko उसकी कोई गर्लफ्रेंड नहीं है, मेरे को उसकी सेक्सुअलिटी, उसको सेक्सुअलिटी वगैरह के बारे में भी कुछ मालूम नहीं है. हाउ कैन यू टॉक टू हिम अबाउट homosexuality? This is a class 12 student who's sitting in my audition room with his girlfriend. Right. You know, and that is the big disconnect. The parents, the principals think that kids are dumb, they don't know what's happening, but hey, we have the internet now. You know, 12, 13-year-old people are coming out with this. They are discovering their sexuality, and there's no one that they can go and speak to or address this to. So before we reach the higher authorities, before we reach people who are out there, I think it's the
grassroots
schools and the grassroots that need a major overhaul. All these teachers, my English teacher told me that making a film on homosexuality is illegal.
Wow.
And she hasn't spoken to me since then because I came out and said this openly, and she's angry with me. I've never taken her name. It's complete guilt conscious. I've never taken her name, but she's completely anti me, completely against this, because I came out and said what you're saying is wrong, and I had a different opinion from her. Nobody's encouraged to have an opinion.
And well, these people are the ones who kind of shape us and who kind of mold us as people. So when they have opinions like that, they kind of have a great impact on students and on people and parents.
Someone hit upon this great idea in India that if you don't like something, just say it's illegal. So it's like, whatever you don't like is illegal. So I just wonder, before we move on to the next thing, I think that, I mean, it's a beautifully made film. Whoever is here who hasn't seen it, it's a really nicely, sensitively done film. Very well performed by all the various actors who are here. I'm saying that because I'm an actor. I just want to say, because you talked about parents, and it's something that the film sort of touches upon as well. I think, and you said वो बेचारे parents जिनके बच्चे out हो गए और उसके बाद criminalize हो गए अगले साल. So it's kind of, it's a tough thing for any family, especially when there is cross-generational sort of values involved. You know, I think that our parents and their parents cannot help that they were born in a time where, you know, we also have access to a lot more information and a lot more freedom of thought that perhaps that generation did not. And so in some sense, their fears are quite natural. And I think that perhaps as youngsters and as people who are fairly confident and, you know, very sassy and clever with all our comments and whatever, perhaps we can help our parents by actually, you know, by taking the first step of being honest and being, you know, being out there about who we are. And again, which is something your film does very nicely. And challenge them to rise to the occasion. Because I have found in my experience and in the experience of all my friends, parents always rise to whatever you bring them to. Mostly. I mean, it's just, they can't help it. They're parents. So they may be scared, they may fight, they may get upset. But eventually they somehow, they do come around.
Their love for you trumps everything at the end of the day.
On that note, can I just add, so the basic story of this film, where it's inspired from, is actually from this family. I was visiting my aunt in Germany, and over lunch she was telling me the story about an Indian family, Indian father, German mother, who disowned their daughter of 20-something years completely because she came home and told them that she's a lesbian. So, yeah, I mean, I see your point, but I think Sridhar might agree with me here that a lot of grandparents are way more supportive than parents. So and it's a generation before them, but...
ऐसा होता था हमारे समय में पता नहीं था. Okay, one thing I want to just add, like, I mean, what Swara said is really important. Like, I mean, if a person, a gay, lesbian, transgender person has taken 23, 25 years to come to terms with himself or herself, give the parent at least 1 year, 2 years, 3 years at least, you know, let them sink in and try to kind of build that bonding and relationship so that, like, see, they understand you. It's just something new. There's something different, you know. So it's like saying that, like, okay, I want to have this completely different kind of hairstyle, and the parents don't know what the hell is happening with them, you know. So it takes time for that mother to just get used to this different hairstyle. In the same way, I think it's really, if you really have a conversation, I think parents do really understand. But you know what? Okay, let me say this, like, I'm a gay man. I've been out for like last 25 years. But my mother, I've been having this conversation for the last 20 years with my mother. But believe me, she's okay with me, she's okay with my partner, everything. But within that, because of the Indian tradition and culture, the word homosexuality, the whole idea does not really yet be okay. That is really difficult, believe me, because we are so ingrained in over the years to not accept it. So that is tough on any parents, you know.
My father has never been able to say the word boyfriend, and I'm straight. So even today, and there's been, well, more than one boyfriend. So he always says, and your special friend. So special friend. So, you know, it's I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, your dad has graduated to special friend? My dad is like that boy you roam with.
That boy.
That boy.
No. Sorry.
what happens is like parents, they take it as a shock. So you have to come up with solutions. See, the person has got a problem. You also come up with problems. What is the point? You have to come up with a solution. That is like, again, very important.
Yeah, so before coming up with a solution, there's just one thing, and I'm going to take from where you left it. Indian culture, and since I study mythology, does accept homosexuality, and there's no two ways about it. There are several examples I can give you in Indian culture, in Indian scriptures, where homosexuality is not just accepted, it's celebrated. So anybody who says that Indian culture does not accept homosexuality or this is an alien concept is talking rubbish, because उन्होंने Indian culture पढ़ा ही नहीं है. Second cheese, the problem with our parents is, and this is a slightly macro problem, the problem with the generation is, when the British came into India, we were so embarrassed of our culture. What we today talk about being Indian culture is actually the Western British Victorian culture that is being imposed upon us and taken away our Indian culture. And today when we see the US or you see Europe opening up, that is actually the Indian culture. So there's been a difference out of our own embarrassment, out of our own not reading enough of our culture. We today think that their culture is about accepting, for example, homosexuality, and our culture is about not accepting homosexuality. Added to that, you have thugs like Ramdev who come up with medicines that can cure homosexuality, and then the government supports people like that. So we have this problem. It's a problem that is, what came first, the chicken or the egg, or the thug or Ramdev, what became first? And then you have moral policemen. So how do you solve this? Well, the problem is, yes, you need the courts to intervene. Like you said, you need an online portal, but there's a slightly larger problem. The minority few have become such a loud voice online, and I was reading about Sonakshi Sinha and this other girl, actress, this very pretty actress. I can't recollect her name. She was trolled on the meat ban thing. I was on a TV channel when I saw that. Sonam Kapoor. She was trolled on this meat ban thing. You know, so when you don't respect another person's opinion, when you come out with this is how it is or there is no other way, I think we have a problem. And I think we need to start addressing that problem. And it goes back to saying that this is my life and I will live it this way. Like you said, you came out, and that's the important thing.
Right. So guys, we kind of discussed the role of parents and teachers with this issue, especially this issue. Well, we've discussed about the problems. Let's see what in your mind could be the right approach towards, trying to explain to the parents and teachers, because they're the ones who finally mold and shape the youth. They kind of put in the ideas of right and wrong within the children. So what do you think should be the right approach that parents and teachers should take when it comes to dealing with issues like that? We're talking solutions now, guys.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I think they should be more open to the idea of having a conversation with the youth, because at school, at a very fundamental level, like it or not, majority of the kids follow a herd mentality. Okay, you want to be a doctor, fine, even I'll be a doctor. You want to be an engineer, okay, I'll be an engineer. There's no real reason why you want to do that. Coming to conversations, because everyone's following the herd mentality, so if I have a thinking, 10 other people follow the same thinking without realizing what are their reasons. So here, I think the right solution would be to have an open conversation with the kids, respect their opinions, respect what they're talking about. Yes, you can guide them, you can talk about them, because as a youth, I know for a fact that I might be wrong. Even right now when I'm making this sentence, I might be wrong somewhere, I'm still young. So, but yeah, I think there should be more openness and acceptance that kids do have a mind of their own, youth does have a mind of their own. And they should be given that freedom of expression where they can allow themselves to speak freely, and parents and teachers, they can always listen to them, not react, but talk to them about it and see what best alternate solution they can come out with.
I'd like to get Rikhil in here, simply because you mentioned that you actually have gone to all these educational institutions. While there have been those that have not been quite open to this idea, I'm pretty sure that there have been some that were open to this.
So one school which example I want to take, and I'm going to take the liberty of taking the school's name as well, as a school called Tagore International in Delhi. Now, we were very used to, when we were going to these schools, we were very used to, approaching the topic of homosexuality really carefully, and we'd be like, yeah, so this kid finds out that his brother is attracted to boys, and then wait for the reaction, And by the time I reached this school, I was just like, what, they're going to say no, so it's okay, let me just go ahead and say it. And I was talking, and I was like, yeah, this is a story about this 14 13-year-old boy and he idol worships his elder brother, wants to be like him, and one day finds out that his brother is gay. And these two teachers are sitting across the table and they give each other a look. And Shachi was there with me in that meeting, and both of us looked at each other and said, Gaya ye school bhi. That teacher actually high-fived me and said, you know, this is so important and we need to start speaking about this, and it's high time somebody took a stand. This school has just launched an international LGBT magazine yesterday.
Wow.
And Thrive
Round
magazine.
of applause for that school, guys.
And I think the girl who's done this is I don't know what class she's in, but maybe class 12th or something. Siddhi Pal, if I remember her name right. And she's gone ahead and done all of this on her own, and the school has backed her completely to do this. Kids talk about sexuality in that school openly. They talk about homosexuality in that school openly. And I think where and how that has happened is that those teachers have not become these strict disciplinarians over there, but they've become their friends. They'll talk to them about boyfriends and they'll talk to them about girlfriends, and it's not a taboo for boys and girls to sit together. All the schools have gone to. Lines mein baitho to boys and girls alag, baitho to boys and girls alag, chalo to boys and girls alag. My school, when I was younger, punishment was to sit with a girl. Make up your mind, are you for homosexuality or against? So.
First of all, the thing is that they have to accept the thing. Whatever thing is going, take it in a positive way. If something is bothering them, they can go and talk to the counselors. Nowadays, the school is having an HR department, so they can go and talk to the counselor. Or if the parents are not able to understand what is the situation, they have to just go and talk to the counselor. Okay, this is the problem what faced by my child. How we can handle that situation. That is very important nowadays.
Do you think the attitude of mainstream movies must change towards homosexuality? Because from the little bit movies that I've seen, I think somebody as a gay character is always stereotyped or made fun of. Like he said, the punishment was to sit with a girl. So I think, that's honestly, that's a boon for me. I wish which school was this?
We would mess up just to get this punishment. That's exactly
Why
what
did my parents put me in that school? I'm telling you, my parents ruined my childhood. If only they cracked the code. ऐसी school में डाल देते मुझे. But do you think we need to change our attitude as filmmakers towards homosexuality? I think those characters are always made fun of.
See, I'll tell you what, I think there has been a change over the last, I would say, 10 years in the way mainstream cinema looks at gay, lesbian characters. But I still think the change is very slow. I don't think it's happened enough. And also, I think there's this whole cycle of production, distribution, actors, casting, and the whole cycle. And that is challenging for any filmmaker or any production company, any distributor. And it's not happening. I mean, I'll tell you what, I think a film like, if we take... what film can I take? Actually, Dostana is an interesting film. It's not really a gay film, but it really did normalize the word gay in many ways, the way it dealt with. But at the same time, for us, like a film like Ded Ishq Kiya, it's not really gay, but it's so gay. For us, like, one of those, we kind of really think Ded Ishq Kiya is the gayest film around, with Madhuri Dixit. And it's awesome. For us, a film like that really kind of very positive, very interesting, and layered, and not having a very stereotypical character, as we talked about, who either is extremely effeminate. Effeminate men are there. I'm not saying, but having that one effeminate man as a prototype of a gay man, is a problem. Yeah, made fun of all the time, or showing him as a really horrible, mentally distorted character. Like, Student of the Year and some of the other films really show that, which for me is a problem. So I think we are not really progressing enough. And as I said, like, my whole hope is more with the documentaries and the independent films. I mean, I see a lot of independent films which are coming up, which are basically much more honest about what they do. But I think things are changing, and I'm really happy that things are changing. Of course, we want that big gay film to happen very soon. So we are hoping like something will come true. Yeah.
I just want to say that I think that there is no, in some sense, there is no debate about whether Bollywood stereotypes or it does not. Of course it does. But I just like to kind of add that it doesn't only stereotype homosexuals. It stereotypes everybody. I mean, for the longest time, South Indians were like these loud people who don't know how to eat food, and I'm a South Indian half, and I feel like, no. I mean, there's so many films where, or Sardarjis, I mean, all Sikhs are like, oi, 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 like always happy, always cheerful. I'm like, so, but not just, but not just, yeah, all South Indians eat like dahi chawal haath mein chaat ke, and all Sardars do bhangra, like, I mean, but it's not just that. I think men and women, like masculinity and femininity is also in general stereotyped. I mean, for the longest time, you had I mean, the vamp was one figure, or wo sari mein roti hui abla nari, and now I think that the six pack has become a different kind of stereotype. And which is why I don't have one, not because I'm lazy, but I'm just saying that. So there is that kind of thing. But I think that in general, I think that things are also changing, and I think that as newer films are made, and I just like to say a big congratulations and good on you to Viacom for actually acquiring this film and or whatever, taking it on and releasing it. It's so important that stories like this and films like this, which are different, those films will remain. They will always make 100 crores and just as well, because it's good. The film industry should make money, but it's really nice to see films like this, and I think that this is the beginning for that change. But I just want to say, because we're talking about solutions very quickly, I think it's also important that kind of work that y'all are doing, which is that laws have to change. It's not okay to have a law that criminalizes homosexuality or unnatural sex or whatever weird language that is put in. It's just not okay, because then you are making a whole population, which is not just gay people but also heterosexuals. As we saw in the in various cases that have happened over the last year, you're making them vulnerable to rank bullying and nothing else by the agents of the state, whether it's the police, whether it's whoever. So it's really important that laws change, and that as a society we keep that pressure on the government, on our judiciary, so challenging all those cases. Great job. Nice.
I just want to, I want to say one thing what Swara and what you mentioned was that now because of the law, what also happens is when somebody is coming out at 13, 14, somebody's discovering themselves, and they, a younger boy or a younger girl feel that he is gay or lesbian, we are not, as an organization, we are not able to even take on any kind of the case till that person is 18. Now, what happens is between 14 to 18 is such an important phase in so many youngsters' lives, and there is absolutely no organization available at all which deal with LGBT issues sensitively. So, what happens is if they come to an organization which deals with gay, lesbian rights, we send them to child organizations, and they're not equipped. The counselors sometimes, I don't know, I'm generalizing, but a lot of the counselors are not equipped to deal with LGBT issues in the context of the youth. And so that for us is a big worry, and I don't know, how do we make changes so that we can actually address even this particular range of youth,
Actually, that's what my petition in the Supreme Court is about, because 377, first of all, is not just about LGBT, it's also about heterosexuality, because anything that, apart from sex, to produce babies is illegal in this country, technically.
So we're all criminals.
All criminals. Sare criminals. So, yeah.